With the opening of the Project Pride, we invite you to travel together with us through cities and countries of the world to meet Kazakhstan people there, learn more about their life. We will go on a visit, we will plunge into their work, we will walk to their favorite corners of the cities they live in. But the main thing is that we set out on a journey to be inspired by their success. After all, the heroes of our program are bright and interesting people, and every story, every acquaintance is a swirl of impressions. We met with Eldar Saparayev in Paris thanks to the Association of the Kazakhstani People of France and Berlin Irishev, and our long-awaited meeting took place in Zurich. The musician has been living in the vicinity of Zurich for 17 years. He is known among the world's connoisseurs of classical music as the steppe volcano, full of ideas, temperamental and soulful. Eldar invited us to see the Rhine Falls and chose this place, of course, with a specific goal. So we went to the highway. This is the city of Winterthur, where I live. It's 15 kilometers away from Zurich. We're going to the Rhine Falls as we planned. The fact is that not far from me, somewhere about 10 minutes from my house, the river Rhine is flowing. I tried to search for gold, but apparently Nibelungs left this place long time ago. There is the famous Rhine Falls. It is the largest, not the highest, but the deepest waterfall in Europe. A lot of interesting people gathered there, from kings and nobility to creative people like Tchaikovsky, Goethe, and Heine. Eldar Saparayev, cellist, conductor, accompanist. He was born on May 14, 1980, in the family of a musician and ballet dancer. He is the cellist in the 4th generation. Eldar's father, Zaur, began to teach his son music when he was 6 years old. Later, the young musician graduated from the Kulash Basitova Music School for gifted children and after the Kazakh National Music Academy. In 1999, for outstanding talent and outstanding potential, he was invited to study in the Academy and Theater in Zurich. In parallel, he studied at the Berlin Academy of Music, where he was awarded a scholarship. He became the first guest conductor of the Southwest Philharmonic of Germany, member of the Bach Academy, concertmaster of the Southwest Philharmonic of Germany, the participant of Cello Sextet Philharmonic Cellist Cologne, honorary member of the Association of Kazakhstanis of France. For a bright, emotional manner of performance, received in Europe an informal nickname, Steppe Volcano. The story of how Eldar went to study in Switzerland now has become a family story. However, in the late 1990s, when there were no mobile phones and the internet was not yet sufficiently developed, the relatives were pretty worried. After all, the son, having left home with a cello, a small baggage and only $100 in his pocket, didn't contact his family for 3 weeks. The reason was prosaic. The young man simply had no money for international calls. The problem resolved in an extraordinary way. Eldar's grandmother found a business card of the professor from Vienna and called the number. She repeated the words which were clear without any translation. Eldar, grandmother. Eldar was found, his family was reassured, and although the first years abroad were financially scarce, life soon began to improve, because the right path always leads to success. Now Eldar is a world-class star, but first and foremost, a hospitable fellow countryman with whom we went to his favorite corners of Switzerland. We started from Rhine Falls. We have tickets for the Rhine Falls and Laufen Castle. We wanted to live the wishes from the people of Kazakhstan, but there is no place. Last pages, maybe. Let's try. And we were here.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Soon it's going to rain. In Switzerland, it rains by the clock.
Какой грандиозный вид!
What a grandiose view. Simply Molière, the 8th Symphony. The Rhine waterfall in the town with the lovely name of Schaffhausen, a truly grand place, and not only because it is the largest plain waterfall in Europe. When looking into the face of the water element, it's almost impossible to take your eyes off the turbulent flow. It's no wonder that many great minds and extraordinary talents have come here. For someone, it's kind of a reboot. For others, it's kind of a meditation. However it is, it's hard not to feel magic flow of the waterfall. During a trip to Schaffhausen, where in addition to the waterfall you can admire the ancient castle of Monod, for example, we managed to chat for a while about the nuances of life in a Swiss province. I'll buy a house like this one someday, and I'll move my entire family. Great plan. It's a good place to be born and to die, but to live here is certainly boring. They will say Krutzi, and you say Krutzi, and it is immediately clear that we're local Swiss people. Here it is really accepted to greet each other even though you might not be actually introduced to each other. And if you went to a store or a cafe, you must say hello. But you get used to such manners quickly. If not for presence of people dressed in a modern way and automobiles, the town of Schaffhausen looks like a European town only a couple of centuries back. It was founded due to the Rhine waterfall. The waterfall prevented the further advance of the ships, and in fact, where the anchor is thrown, there is life. Gentlemen, welcome. Castle Monod. Wall thickness is 20 meters.
Раз, два, три, четыре, пять, шесть, восемь, ну 10.
Well, the fortress was built in the form of the ring, and it was completed in the 16th century. It's hard to say when exactly the construction has begun. What's this? These are two guns that belong to the army of Napoleon Bonaparte. So he left them here for some reason? Well, for great reasons. The French were very active here. They had to run quickly. Literally 20 kilometers away from here, there were two castles that he could not conquer for 2 weeks. Then he took these castles with a hoax. He said he would let everyone out and not punish them. And when the gate was opened, he knocked everyone out, killed them, and burned them. This one could not be burned because, as you saw the walls, well, when the French ran, they left 2 guns. That's so beautiful. These guns are here since 1782. At the time when nothing foreshadowed the collapse of Napoleon. There are many stories connected with Napoleon, for example, as well as the heroic Third Symphony of Beethoven, which Beethoven first dedicated to Napoleon and then crossed out when he proclaimed himself an emperor. How could he do this? He is a revolutionary and suddenly the emperor. In Switzerland, Eldar Saparayev feels as if he's at home and he easily finds a common language with his neighbors and colleagues and freely communicates in German, accepted in this part of the country, and not only in German. How many languages do you speak? I speak Russian, German, English, Serbian. Well, it's 4 languages on which I will speak well. And still a little bit in French and Italian. And this is not the limit. I'm learning English. Then I'm thinking to learn Spanish.
И потом, думаю, выучить испанский.
Among the favorite composers of Eldar in a special place is Bach, and by the recognition of the musician, in order to fill the music of Bach, which he wrote for the temples, it should be performed in the temples and churches. Saparayev rehearses in the church near his house.
Вот такая вот у меня.
This is my church.
Сюда прихожу вечерами,
I come here in the evenings. It's wonderful. Why I love to rehearse Bach music precisely in this church? Because to really understand Bach, in order to understand him, one must understand what he was writing for. And he wrote for the church.
То есть в церкви обычно акустика как? Это как минимум 7 секунд.
In a church, usually acoustics like at least 7 seconds of reverberation.
Как бы акустически 2-3 секунды максимум.
If you're at home, you have acoustically 2-3 seconds maximum.
Когда начинаешь играть,
And then when you start playing the works of Bach,
естественно,
then naturally you have an understanding.
внимание. Вот, проходите.
Come on in, ladies first.
Моя комната.
Here is my room for classes. The acoustics here is great. It's an active church. Do they have sermons here? Of course, this is one of the most important churches in Winterthur. To be surrounded by the care of a busy person and even a world-famous musician, I tell you, not only pleasant, but also exciting. Although it's fully justified, after all, the attitude towards guests, countrymen, and friends is all we have absorbed with a mother's milk. It's part of our national culture. And as we are time and time again convinced, this is inherent in all, without exception, our people everywhere. But could I imagine that I would listen to one of the best cellists in the world in such a great environment?
Божественная музыка.
Divine music, this fifth suite, is the ascent of Jesus to the cross.
Восхождение Иисуса, да, на крест. То есть это, ну вот, католиков, как сказать.
Well, for the Catholics, Bach probably expressed all the tragedy of mankind.
Наверное, передал всю трагедию человечества.
Well, you can just play and through music understand it. That's why probably music is the language of God.
Музыка, да, это, наверное, язык Бога. То есть, ну, может, не...
God or Allah, in other words, the supreme power, because it touches people, somehow affects people's brain,
Она,
or even bypassing the brain, it touches our soul.
то есть на наш тот же мозг, на наше, именно может даже...
Well, how can one write such music? It's genius.
Если вот, ну как возможно такую музыку написать? Это же гениальная вещь.
Our compatriot Eldar Saparayev plays in many concert halls of the world. He's applauded by royal people and masters of music. And today I feel like a queen because Eldar Saparayev plays for me and for you. Of course, surprises did not end here. The longer you communicate with the steppe volcano, the clearer you understand why they gave him this nickname. Temperament, intrigue, humor, and intelligence. With such a guide to go for a walk in Zurich, and even on a sunny day, well, isn't it a gift of fate? Frau Münster is one of the main churches in Zurich, which is famous for its stained glass windows of Marc Chagall. You saw them today in our program. I just learned that he was of a very respected age. He painted them when he was 90 years old. Yes, he came here. He had an exhibition. And here is the main church. It is Grossmünster, opposite to Frau Münster.
А там сзади нас вот этот пляж знаменитый.
And behind there is a famous beach. It was organized in the 17th or 16th century. There were a women's community and there is now a women's beach. So men are not allowed there? Well, as I know, yes. Well, maybe some special men are allowed. Zurich is a beautiful city. I love Zurich, especially in a nice weather. Behind us, there is a Zurich lake on the right side, mountains in the fog. This is already the Lützen Mountains. There is always a carousel. It has been there for decades. And we will now go with you to the old town, Niederdorf.
Нидердорф. Собственно, туда, куда...
Where maybe not everyone will like it, but to the place where Lenin created his revolution.
Ленин, как говорится, делал свою революцию.
I studied here opposite to this house, and often I had to pass here. And they told us that Lenin created his revolution here. He did not just live here, but worked on his main project. Yes, in this building, the destiny was decided. Here on February 21st, 1916 to April 2nd, 1917, Lenin lived, the fur of the Russian Revolution.
Недавно давал концерт в одном зале.
Recently, I gave a concert in one hall in the center of Zurich, and I looked at the sign on the plate. There is Lenin's face again. When I came closer, I saw, in this hall on March 2nd, 1917, Lenin led his propaganda. He sabotaged people for a revolution. It all began here. This is the birthplace of the Russian Revolution. Of course, we could not go to Zurich Conservatory, with which Eldar Saparayev has a lot to do this day. At the moment, we're going to the Zurich Conservatory, but I decided to show you one masterpiece, Kunstgalerie. Now you will be very surprised. There is one such thing. Here it is. What do you think it is? This is one of the Rodin's most famous work. This is the Gate of Hell, the original. He built this for 20 years.
Оригинал. Он строил это 20 лет. Строил он с 1880 года по 1917.
He built it from 1880 to 1917. That is, before his death, he never finished it. I read about it. See this emptiness. He did not have time to finish it. Everything should be filled. Terrific. In Switzerland, there is a lot of amazing things. For example, tap water is considered better than bottled water from the store. And through the city, you can often see water fountains, from which you can safely drink. But not behind every fountain you can see Rodin, the famous sculpture, the Gates of Hell. Well, now we saw it and go to the conservatory.
Это наш большой зал.
This is our big hall. Everything started here. My entrance examinations.
Акустика просто обалденная здесь.
Acoustics are just awesome. Here it's all very well audible. Organ, little organ. The scene is all controlled. You can make it big or small. Then everything automatically rises and falls.
Большой, маленькой. Тут все автоматически поднимается, опускается. Мне нравятся эти желтые.
I like these yellow colors, which are everywhere. Very elegant and tasteful. Yes, very often I played here on the stage. This is my stage, my favorite one. Good. A lot of things happened here.
Действительно, очень много всего произошло в этом плане.
The Zurich Conservatory was established in 1878, and today it is the largest music university in Europe. However, music in Switzerland is everywhere.
Музыка везде. Смотрите, тут звучит, по-моему, Брамс.
Music is everywhere. Look, here. I think it's Brahms' piano concert. Who's playing there? I think it's music school, apparently. How interesting. I want to see the store. It's a music store. They sell scores. Così fan tutti Mozarta. Super. I never knew.
Così fan tutti Mozarta. Супер. Я никогда не знал. Гениальное произведение. Помню, когда я приехал в Вену.
Brilliant works. I remember when I came to Vienna for the first time, Alan Buribayev welcomed me.
Супер. Купили.
And we went to Vienna, Staatsoper. He got me Staatsplätze, standing places.
В Венской опере. Это было незабываемо.
And we listened to Rosenkavalier in the Viennese opera. It was unforgettable. like many of our conversations with Alan, Adventures of Wagner.
Wagner.
Wagner, by the way, lived literally 2 blocks away from here, a walking distance. It was not even Zurich at the time. It was the province of Enge. But most probably a big surprise this time was a message that was specifically written for Eldar, according to his order. The master agreed to take us in the workshop in spite of Swiss-German employment and the schedule, well, just for a minute. He is famous for making good instruments, stringed musical instruments. He's German, but he has been living in Switzerland for a long time. He also works in the music hook store, and he recently made me an instrument. He made a cello, by order. Yes, I think that's his 10th instrument. I have a French instrument of 1870, a Parisian I call it, my main instrument. And it's always good to have an extra, a second instrument. So now we'll see it. We're here. When a violoncello or a violin is made, its birth is not considered fully fulfilled. The instrument is still continuing to prepare for its future life. We will have the first meeting of the cello with its lucky owner.
Итак, мы находимся сейчас в Music Hook, Zurich.
So here we are in the Music Hook, Zurich. This is the biggest music store here in Switzerland. My good friend and master of musical instruments Martin Haupt works here, and he recently made me a cello.
Martin Haupt. И он недавно мне сделал виолончель. Добро пожаловать.
Welcome to the world of musical instruments.
Музыкальных инструментов. Hello, Martin.
Hello, Martin.
Hello. And maybe...
you want to try again?
Yes,
Eldar?
maybe. Of course.
Yeah. You want to see?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So just explain about this cello. It's a copy of...
It's a copy of Stradivari on the golden period, and I finished it on Saturday. So this is about 3 days old. If I can work every day 8 hours, I can make it in 6 weeks, something like this. It takes 1.5 months I have to work on it. The problem is I have a lot of things to do in my shop, so customers and restorations, and that means I make 1 cello a year.
Martin Haupt is of German descent and approaches the work with a true German pedantry. His works are exact copies of Stradivarius, which he makes according to Asian technologies.
What is the name of cello?
No name still. Maybe it will be the Eldar.
Eldar cello. Incredible. Бомба! Fantastic cello. Great. I really like it.
About the fact that someone can steal a secret, well, for example, his glue or the processing of wood, Maestro Haupt does not worry. After all, the most important thing comes only with experience and is not measured by formulas and figures. What the hands and heart know, it's hard to steal.
It is always spruce on the table and marble on the back. Hard holes here, a little bit smooth holes here too, from the back. This combination makes this kind of sound. It is very traditional. In our profession, we use the same techniques like 300 years before.
I think the next time Eldar Saparayev comes with concerts in Kazakhstan, his new instrument will be with him. The musician and the conductor has many plans. He helps young talents, organizes festivals, actively tours, and constantly comes up with something new.
Меня попросили в городе Констанц, который на Боденском озере.
The fact that I was asked in the city of Constance to organize a chamber music festival,
Он стартует уже 12.
it will start on December 12 this year.
Запланированы 4 концерта с с очень...
4 concerts with very good musicians are planned,
У меня Елена Башкирова, Борин.
with participation of Yelena Bashkirova, Alyona Baeva, Dmitry Zemyashkin, and Vladimir Ashkenazy, people with whom I had worked with.
Я уже имел раньше дело.
I believe that when a young man from Almaty went to conquer Europe with empty pockets and only his musical instrument, he was not sure that someday the greatest musicians would willingly agree to participate in Eldar Saparayev's festivals. How does Eldar see himself in 20 years?
Таким же. Почему-то я не меняюсь.
I think I will stay the same. For some reason, I don't change. Those ideals that were laid in my family to me and my sister,
Как мама говорила, мне не важно, будешь ты богат или беден.
as my mother said, it doesn't matter to me whether you're rich or poor, successful or not. It doesn't matter to me.
Я понимаю, что
The main thing is that you stay a good person.
помогать людям, например, да, кого-то поддерживать.
From this, in principle, I understand that what I can do is help people, support them at any stage of life. Many, for example, say that you can help people only when you achieve something, and then you can engage in such activities. But for me, it never hurts.
Студентам,
When I was a student, I helped my friends, for example, to win some scholarships. And this is basically my life.
стипендии или все. Это, в принципе, моя жизнь.
Sincerity and sympathy, it seems Saparayev's family trait. They quickly respond to requests and approach them with seriousness and diligence.
Приятно играть концерты, и, конечно,
It's nice to play concerts, of course, to realize that your performances somehow touches people, their hearts.
тронуты сердцем, кто-то даже может просто...
It enriches their life. It brings them to tears.
Приятные концерты, конечно, которые у меня были в жизни, это, наверное, концерты, которые...
But the most pleasant concerts of my life were the concerts that I played for some reason, as a favor. For example, when there was a disaster in Japan, I gave a lot of concerts.
Бывают бенефис-концерты в Казахстане, которые я давал.
There is a benefit concert which I gave in Kazakhstan for certain purposes to raise some money.
Носит не только, как бы,
This benefits not only my people and moral satisfaction, but also, since we live in a financial world, it also gives some results. And this is very pleasing.
какие-то свои результаты. И это очень радует.
And of course, you cannot forget about young talents, since you remember your own experience as a student.
И сейчас я думаю даже сыграть.
Now I think even to play a concert on September 16th, 17th, with the support of the foundation of Yermek Serkibayev. And if we will raise money, I think it will be possible to support 2-3 students from Baisitova and Zhubanov schools. At least we can buy instruments for them.
Хотя бы купить струны. Вот сегодня там, где мы были, у этого Мартина Хаупта, он мой большой друг, предположим,
Here today, where we were at Martin's shop, once or twice a month I visit him and he gives me something as a support for these children. He gives me strings. I send them to Kazakhstan. We distributed them, since strings can cost up to $400 and $500 for a chord, cello strings, and I'm not even talking about the bass. They are very expensive.
вообще не говорю, они очень дорогие. И, например, дети в Казахстане, они часто играют на чем попало. То есть какие-то струны от...
And children in Kazakhstan often play on instruments of poor quality. They even spoil their fingers. I once played the cello, literally for 5 minutes, on the instrument of my father's student, and my hands were black because the metal was very bad. It could even be harmful to health.
Сделать тоже что-то, как бы, мир лучше. Через 20 лет, я надеюсь... Да, я надеюсь, что смогу быть полезным.
So quietly, with small steps, we try to make the world better. In 20 years, I hope that I can be useful to society even more. I hope that I will somehow develop, and time will tell. Well, in general, I live with today, the present moment in mind, and I never think about what will happen tomorrow. I'm working today for tomorrow. But usually, I do not plan definitely that I want to achieve this or that. No, I'm just investing all my energy and work hard. And that's how I make my dreams a reality.
И делаю, как бы, мечты реальностью.
We wish you an ocean of inspiration, Maestro Eldar, and faithful muses for many years. And the Pride Project want to say thank you again for the most interesting acquaintance, which undoubtedly will continue. As the story about people who make us proud, they will continue too. They were able to become real citizens of the world and remain our pride. See you soon on Kazakh TV.